A huge gorilla named Kong is shown. At that moment, a little girl arrives who is Kong's special friend. Kong would have given his life for her, but at this moment his anger was so intense that he uprooted a large tree nearby and threw it with all his might into the sky. The tree went straight into the energy ball, creating a huge hole. In reality, Kong was placed in a world created by humans so that Godzilla would not even notice him. About 6 years ago, there was a very serious battle between Kong and Godzilla. A dangerous battle took place, but Godzilla defeated Kong in that battle. These two dangerous animals can sense each other from a distance. Therefore, humans feared that if they came face to face again, it could cause devastating destruction. But now Kong had grown much larger than before, so humans decided that Kong would be relocated. Next, we see a man named Barney who works at Apex, a large tech company that specializes in advanced robots and is known for manufacturing massive machinery. However, Barney had long harbored suspicions about the company's members, specifically that they were concealing something monumental from the world and were in the process of creating something dangerous. In an attempt to uncover the truth, Barney attempts to steal the company's secret data. Through this, he discovers that the company is preparing to ship a massive, top-secret project to Hong Kong. But just then, a danger alarm begins to blare loudly. This signals that Godzilla has drawn perilously close to the city. A short while later, we witness Godzilla bursts forth from the ocean waters in a truly terrifying manner. Upon witnessing this, the helicopters present at the scene immediately launch an attack against him. However, Godzilla was immensely powerful. Consequently, he utterly annihilated anything that stood in his path. Everyone present was left utterly astonished by this sight, for Godzilla had always been a protector of humanity. Why then was he attempting to kill everyone today? Suddenly, in a fit of rage, Godzilla unleashed his nuclear power, incinerating the entire Apex facility and reducing it to ash in a mere 2 seconds. News of this event spread across the entire world overnight that Godzilla has returned. However, this time, rather than acting as a protector, he is laying waste to everything like an enemy. Just then, the owner of the Apex Corporation appears on the news at the mark, stating that Godzilla has now spiraled out of control. He adds, however, that they will soon develop a machine capable of stopping him. A girl named Madison is also watching this news broadcast, as she is absolutely convinced that Godzilla could not possibly launch such attacks without a valid reason. She believes the Apex Corporation must surely be behind it. To prove her point, she goes to her father. She assures him that Godzilla must certainly has been provoked. Upon hearing this, her father refuses to heed her words in the slightest. He further asserts that these titans are just like humans, whose minds can snap at any moment, and that Godzilla has now become a villain rather than a hero. Hearing this, Madison becomes deeply disheartened and leaves the scene, whereupon she begins listening to the online audio recordings of the hacker. Within those recordings, strange and shocking secrets regarding Godzilla and the Apex Corporation were being revealed. Upon hearing this, Madison immediately resolves to track down Barney so that she may uncover why Godzilla has in fact targeted that very company, why he made them his target. Meanwhile, we are shown that Walter, the owner of Apex Industries, arrives to meet the renowned scientist Nathan. Walter reveals to him that his hollow earth theory was in fact absolutely true. Nathan had previously authored a book on this subject, in which he claimed that another hidden world exists beneath the surface of our planet, a place from which these titans derive their true power. At that moment, attempting to entice him, Walter suggests that if they were to reach that place, they will acquire a power that will enable them to easily stop Godzilla once and for all. Meanwhile, Walter introduces Nathan to a key associate of his, the very man who is about to embark on this perilous mission. Trove of energy deep within the hollow earth, a resource capable of transforming the entire world. Upon hearing this, Nathan becomes somewhat unsettled, as his own brother had attempted to venture there just a few years prior. However, due to the bizarre gravitational forces within that realm, his brother had lost his life. In fact, the gravity on hollow earth is so dangerous that both humans and machines are destroyed by the pressure upon reaching there. Walter smiles slightly and says that they needn't worry at all because his company has developed a special anti-gravity craft called a HEV that can easily withstand the immense pressure. Nathan then explains that every Titan has a natural power to find their way home. Therefore, they must seek Kang's help to reach hollow earth because only Kang can show them the right path. After this, Nathan continues his journey. He goes to meet his old friend Eileen, who used to look after Kong. Nathan tries to convince her that Kong can no longer be kept in this artificial world for much longer because Kong's true home is the hollow earth, and returning him there is the only way to keep him safe from Godzilla. After giving it some thought, Eileen agrees to take Kong away, as there was no other way to save him. Subsequently, accompanied by a fleet of large ships and the entire army, Kong is transported aboard a massive vessel, bound by heavy chains, is transporting him away. Then, during the night, the little girl conveys to Eileen through gestures that that Kong is furious, as he absolutely detests being held captive in chains like this. Meanwhile, the army leader offers reassurance, stating that they will manage to slip away undetected by Godzilla. The doctor present at the scene also knew that the animosity between Godzilla and Kong dates back centuries, as both of them consider themselves the sole rulers of this world, and if they were to accidentally cross paths, a catastrophe of such magnitude would erupt in the middle of the ocean that no one would be able to stop it. Elsewhere, Madison, along with her friend, heads toward the hacker, Bernie. Send feedback arrives on the scene. Bernie informs them that he had already suspected that the Apex Corporation was secretly developing something capable of challenging Godzilla, and that Godzilla had likely caught wind of this. That is why he must have launched an enraged attack on the company. Meanwhile, aboard the ships, danger alarms suddenly begin to blare. A young girl present at the scene, visibly frightened, frantically signals to everyone that Godzilla is approaching. Upon realizing this, everyone understands that a perilous battle is about to begin. Out in the ocean, we see that very same colossal Godzilla, tearing through the ships scattered across the sea, was rapidly advancing toward Kong. However, Kong was still shackled by those heavy chains. Consequently, in an effort to save Kong, the army launched a rapid assault on Godzilla using massive rockets and missiles. Yet, Godzilla's hide was like that of a mountain, thus the missiles had absolutely no effect on him. Using his tail, he effortlessly obliterated the helicopters hovering in the air. During this assault, Godzilla's rage intensified even further, and he swiftly began to destroy all of the army's aircraft. Finally, he delivered a powerful strike against one of the ships, and flips it over in the middle of the ocean. Seeing this, Kong, enraged, leaps from one ship to another, facing Godzilla, and delivers a powerful punch to his face. But Godzilla turns around and hits Kong, knocking him down. But Kong immediately gets back up and attacks Godzilla with great force, sending Godzilla flying away and falling into the water. Godzilla becomes extremely angry and prepares to attack with his nuclear power. He makes an attempt, but up above, Kong senses this danger, and to save his life, immediately leaps into the water. Seizing this very opportunity, Godzilla drags Kong down into the water, for Godzilla was capable of breathing underwater. However, for Kong, this was an immense struggle. Consequently, due to suffocation beneath the surface, Kong began to weaken. Capitalizing on this advantage, Godzilla swiftly starts dragging Kong down into the ocean's depths in an attempt to finish him off. Meanwhile, in a panic, Eileen exclaims that we must help Kong, or else he will be killed. Just then, the army team launches a volley of missiles underwater. The resulting explosions cause Godzilla's grip to loosen, and Kong manages, with great difficulty, to surface. Meanwhile, Nathan acts with prudence and issues an order that all engines and machinery across every ship be shut down immediately. Their objective was to make Godzilla believe that everyone present was dead, and that he had emerged victorious. Now, the moment everything goes silent, Godzilla glares angrily at Kong, presuming him to be dead. He turns and departs. Meanwhile, Elaine fears that Godzilla will return if the ship is launched. Nathan says that they will no longer take Kong by sea, but will take him up by helicopter. Meanwhile, Madison and her friends sneak into the Apex Company headquarters. There they find numerous large skull crawler eggs, which the company had kept for some secret purpose. They were examining the eggs when suddenly, the door locks automatically. In reality, they were trapped in a high-speed transport plane that begins to rapidly transport them, along with the eggs, through underground passages towards Hong Kong. On the other hand, the army, using a helicopter, transports Kong to the passage in Antarctica that leads directly to Hollow Earth. Once there, the little girl signals Kong to enter the cave, but Kong flatly refuses to enter. Then Nathan helps the little girl, seeks help. At this point, the little girl explains to Kang that his true home lies on the other side of that cave. Heeding the girl's words, Kang then enters the cave. Upon seeing Kang venture inside, the entire group, along with their anti-gravity cars, sets off in pursuit. A short while later, upon reaching the Hollow Earth, they encounter a world where everything is turned upside down. Thanks to their anti-gravity cars, everyone is able to withstand the perilous atmospheric pressure of that realm. The moment these people set foot in this world, strange and bizarre monsters begin to attack them ferociously. Just then, a flying monster attacks a car traveling ahead, crushing it, and as another monster is about to attack a little girl, Kong rushes in from behind, grabs the monster, slams it down onto the ground, and brutally kills it. Afterward, Kong sets off rapidly in search of his home, with the rest of the group following close behind. Meanwhile, Madison and her friends arrive at a secret laboratory in Hong Kong using that very same machine. Upon reaching the lab, they discover it is revealed that, in an effort to eliminate Godzilla, the company has developed a formidable robotic Godzilla named Mechagodzilla. It was being controlled remotely by a man named Ren Serizawa, who was operating it using his mind. Upon witnessing this, Madison and Bernie finally understand why Godzilla had attacked this company in the first place. To test Mechagodzilla's capabilities, capabilities, a skullcrawler, is unleashed against it. Mechagodzilla immediately fires its laser beam and in the blink of an eye slices the skullcrawler in half. However, the problem was that the company did not possess the sheer amount of power required to operate Mechagodzilla at full capacity. That unique power could only be found within the Hollow Earth. Therefore, the owner of the company was searching for that energy so that he could resurrect Mechagodzilla once and for all. As soon as Mechagodzilla was subjected to a brief test run, Godzilla sensed its presence. He fully realized that he was being challenged and immediately began moving rapidly toward Hong Kong. Meanwhile, the world of the Hollow Earth was breathtakingly beautiful, almost like a dream. The true source of energy there lay hidden deep within a colossal mountain. At that very moment, Kong arrived at the foot of that mountain. He then proceeded to open the mountain's massive gateway. Upon entering, Kong discovered a weapon, in other words, an axe. And this was no ordinary axe, rather, it had been crafted from the dorsal spines of a titan, much like Godzilla himself. Then, wielding his axe, Kong takes his seat upon the throne like a king. Meanwhile, Godzilla had arrived in Hong Kong. Upon seeing him, everyone in the city begins to scatter in all directions, fleeing for their lives. Back on his end, Kong discovers a source of mystical energy. The moment he places his axe against this energy, the weapon instantly begins to glow with a blue light, becoming far more powerful than ever before. Elsewhere, Godzilla senses a strange disturbance deep beneath the ground. Just then, consumed by rage, he unleashes his nuclear power directly onto the ground, a force that cleaves through the earth, penetrating thousands of miles deep to reach the very core. Present at that location is Maya, the owner of the company, who had traveled to the Hollow Earth alongside this group. She cunningly transmits data regarding this powerful energy back to her company, intending to use it to make Mechagodzilla even more powerful than Godzilla. At that moment, Eileen attempts to stop her from doing so. However, Maya refuses to heed a single word from anyone. Meanwhile, Godzilla's nuclear power reaches the core, and everything around them begins to be utterly annihilated. Maya attempts to flee the scene, but Kong spots her as she makes her escape. He spots it, grabs the car with his bare hands and blows it up. Then, Kong picks up his magical axe and, leaping along that very path to confront Godzilla, lands directly on the soil of Hong Kong, where Godzilla was waiting for him impatiently. In a fit of rage, Kong delivers a powerful blow to Godzilla with his axe, leaving the monster wounded. Enraged in turn, Godzilla repeatedly attempts to strike back using his nuclear powers. However, relying on his cunning, Kong manages to evade every single attack. A fierce and perilous battle ensues between the two. Yet, in the end, Godzilla begins to gain the upper hand over Kong. He severely wounds Kong, knocking him to the ground. He places his foot upon Kong's chest, lets out a thunderous roar right in front of his face, and begins to walk away. Meanwhile, the owner of the company had finally obtained the energy he had been awaiting so impatiently. The moment this energy was infused into Mechagodzilla, the machine fully awakened. However, immediately upon activation, Mechagodzilla spiraled out of control and seized complete command of everything. First, it killed the company's owner, Walter, and then proceeded to obliterate the entire system present at the facility. Thereafter, utilizing its immense power, it began to destroy everything in its path. It bursts forth, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Just then, upon spotting Mechagodzilla, Godzilla charges toward it with the intent to kill, and a fierce battle ensues between the two. However, against Mechagodzilla and its formidable missiles, the real Godzilla proves unable to hold his ground. Mechagodzilla strikes him with brutal force and in a mere instant brings him crashing to the earth. Meanwhile, Madison and Bernie attempt to stop Mechagodzilla, but due to a system malfunction, they were powerless to do anything. Elsewhere, Kong's condition was critical. He was drawing his very last breaths. Just then, the little girl placed her hand upon Kong's chest and, sensing as she does so, she realizes that Kong's heartbeat is slowly fading away. At this moment, Nathan understands that to save Kong, his heart must be administered a powerful electric shock. Immediately, he takes his anti-gravity vehicle, lands on Kong's chest, and triggers an explosion. In restarting Kong's stopped heart, just then the little girl explains to Kong that Godzilla is not an enemy, but rather a friend, and that right now he is in need of his help. Fueled by anger, Kong immediately sets out to save Godzilla's life. Meanwhile, Mechagodzilla was just about to finish off Godzilla with its deadly laser when Kong arrived on the scene and saved his life, takes the hit. It is then that Godzilla realizes that in order to defeat Mechagodzilla, he and Kong must fight together. However, Mechagodzilla was so powerful that he alone was proving to be too much for both of them to handle. Meanwhile, Kong catches sight of his axe, but by now that axe no longer possessed its former power. Nevertheless, Kong swiftly grabs the axe and launches a fierce attack against Mechagodzilla. Yet, the tables turn as Mechagodzilla begins to overpower Kong. Just as Mechagodzilla was about to strike Kong with his tail, Kong summons all his strength to block the blow. Elsewhere, Madison and Bernie were in distress. They were unable to fix the system. But Josh, who was there, gets an idea and takes the liquor from the barn and pours it into the main control. As soon as he does so, the system begins to fail rapidly, and Mechagodzilla shuts down for a while. Seizing this opportunity, Godzilla charges Kong's axe with his nuclear power. Kong then angrily attacks Mechagodzilla and uses the axe to chop off his arm. And in no time, Kong tears Mechagodzilla to pieces, finally tearing off his head and roaring in victory. Now, with Mechagodzilla destroyed, Hong Kong is completely destroyed, becomes completely calm. Subsequently, Godzilla turns back toward Kong, and Kong too raises his axe and stands ready to face him. However, having joined forces to defeat a formidable enemy, the two of them set aside their old animosity. Godzilla then departs and heads back into the ocean. Afterward, Kong returns to his true home, the Hollow Earth.